did you ever meet anybody who in the first couple of minutes or seconds or a couple of visits you weren't sure was going to actually be a friend or a foe? Well, I met somebody like that. In fact, it was the neighbor lady next door to me from the house sitting job. And Mary Ann was just the most delightful person. She was feisty and sweet, kind and generous. But there was something that I couldn't quite put my finger on, that I didn't know what was going on exactly. And after having that previous winter with, visits with her and whatnot, and just all the fun and her generosity, I kept denying by spring that it would be a good idea for us to live together. And she kept saying, just move in with me when you're done with that house sitting job. So I kept hesitating. I did not really understand the reason why, but that there's something, Pisces know there's a little something going on that they just don't know what it is yet. So come spring, I agreed that would be okay. I would live with her, and I knew that this would be my pretty close to my last year in the Pacific Northwest, because I'd been hired for a specific, time frame and whatnot. So it would be okay. I could make adjustments if it didn't work out. Anyhow, I moved in. We set about having good time. And this time, it was interesting for me because I got to meet her older sister. Now, her older sister was the salt of the earth. She was the kind of person who just canned and sewed and took care of all kinds of things, gardened and whatnot. And in the summer when the tuna were running, she'd go out to the ocean and park the motorhome there, set up whatever canning station she could. Her husband would go out fishing for tuna, and they would cut it up and can it so that they had plenty of preserves and things put away for the winter and for however long until the next time. And so that was the kind of person she was, and she tended to everybody like that. And then I got to meet her 3 children, and what I found out about her 3 children is none of them had developed those kinds of nature kinds of things. They were all more working in kind of traditional paying jobs, and wanted to spend. That's what they wanted to do. So when they came to visit and have a weekend with her, they would eat sometimes in, quite often out. She would always take them shopping and gambling, and paid for it all. And as I watched this progression and listened, once I'm living there, I'm overhearing conversations, even though you don't want to. And oftentimes I just went to my room or went out for a walk or went off and did something else. But you hear stuff. And in the course of that, it was without a doubt people who just were taking advantage of her. And she would just too kind to deny it or to say no. So, after a while, I began to say, tell me about your life with your husband, and and this money that he left you. Well, she said, oh no, we're not talking about the money. She said, I'll tell you, he left her several million. And she said, in all of my life, I worked like a dog. And I took care of everybody. I worked on, our business. And I came home and took care of, the house and the property and all the other stuff. And she said, when I saw how much was there, she said, I got mad. And so she said, I'm having a good time because I worked like a dog. So now part of it is out in the open. There's still stuff down because that's anger, resentment, frustration. And so, living your life out of those traits is so not healthy. And I couldn't get her to, I would try to do certain things or steer her in certain directions and say, well, let's go try this, or let's go see a movie, or let's go, hiking here or there, or the rhododendron gardens and stuff. But all she wanted to do was gamble and that sort of thing, spend, right? So it became apparent to me that at pretty much close to a year, it was spring of the following year, and I am preparing. I will be leaving, I think it's around August or September, and I know where I'm going. That'll be another story. But around spring, I had come to the conclusion there wasn't a thing I could do, and no matter what I tried, the ability to keep her kids from nickel and diming her to death, to put her on a budget that had some flexibility in it so she could, but no, she was writing big checks, and I could see the depletion of the accounts, which at some point she had me, let's try a sort of a budget, but she really couldn't adhere to anything anyway. So guess who the foe became? It wasn't Marianne. It was me. I took it upon myself to just see what I could do my best to get in there and, fight this demon that she had going on. And I wasn't equipped. I'm not saying I knew I could do something about it. I was hoping I could steer her to the professionals that could offer the guidance and the assistance and get that resentment and anger and frustration about, how she couldn't see how he was doing his best to take care of her. And all the while, her health is I'm watching her health deteriorate. And that was becoming frustrating for me. And so, who became the foe? It was me. It was me. You're fighting with yourself now, because I knew it wasn't going to work. And so living with her, watching them come and nickel and dime her to death, and just take advantage, and her not being able to say no, were just not things that it wasn't within a comfort zone for me. So I knew I was going to have to, probably at the end of my stay in the Pacific Northwest, move on. Interestingly enough, we did have some fun during that time. In fact, I was gaining in my spiritual gifts, and I began watching, I can't remember what the channel was now. There were several metaphysical channels out doing studies on metaphysical things. And so I will tell one of those or a couple of those stories in one of the next videos. So thank you so much for joining me. Please like, subscribe, and share. Liking and subscribing are the things that affect the algorithm, help to build a community of people who want to hear stories that may touch a chord in you or make you laugh. And so until the next story, be well, be safe, be happy, and I'll see you at the next telling of a story.